Well, this is Sportmentary with another Big Blue recap. And this time we took 48 hours to melt down and try and calm down. And we got the Comish direct from Winnipeg. How you doing?
Well, I've seen better days. As a Bomber fan, that is. And I could say after watching this latest debacle, it's harder to watch them lose by 1 point than by 52 points. Because at least when they're losing by 52 points, you can go through the process of dealing with the loss. By the fourth quarter, you're laughing at the misery that you're suffering. But when you see an immediate, when there's a last second field goal that just deflates you like a balloon being popped, it takes a couple days to get over. And then you got to read all the second guessing and all these armchair quarterbacks saying what the coach should have done. And you know what? The more I think about it, he did what he thought was in the best interest of the team, and it didn't work out. And that's what sports is about.
We're going to agree on most of this deal today, but I disagree with that. And one thing I do appreciate with the coach is that he admitted he was wrong. That was just bonehead. That was just, I was actually driving back from the PEG. We got to sit down and talk before the game, and wasn't there for the game. But I listened to our good old radio and the game, and it almost put everything in perspective. It was clear what was going on. And I tell you, it was almost, if it wasn't so sad, it would be funny listening to the announcers as it was unfolding, actually not really believing what they were seeing. They were questioning the punt formation. They were saying, this is not really happening, is it? And as the play's unfolding, they go, well, let's hope that he pins him in there deep. Rouge time, 1 point. That's the worst that can happen. And we sure hope it doesn't come back to bite Burke in the you-know-what. And as it happens, you see it happening. You don't have to see it. You hear it happening. I could see it happening. And the game's over.
Okay, but it goes... One play does not make a game. There were other plays that happened.
I agree to some extent that one play doesn't make the game, but it's one big play that... Look, here's the deal. Had they gone for the field goal and not made it, I could live with that. I can't live with that they didn't even give it a shot. They didn't go for what could have amounted to the winning field goal.
Well, let me start with this. There's no doubt that it seems to me that the better percentage play is trying the field goal, because what are the chances of having a second field goal blocked when you just had one blocked only one attempt earlier or two attempts earlier? But then again, he's a rookie coach. Rookie head coach, and he's probably thinking, we just had a field goal block. These guys actually blocked a field goal from almost the same spot in the field. Maybe a punt. Why can't my punter just kick it? Just
the percentages of that punt being made is terrible. But you know what I'm going to do? Even the botched field goal, in a sense, I don't even want to come down on Burke. I'll be honest with you. It's easy to come down on a guy. He should have never been placed in the position he's in. We've talked about it. La Police should be in there right now. No firing. He doesn't have experience as a head coach in the CFL. He should be in there. I feel sorry for the guy. The guy was put into a position with a dismantled team, a terrible GM who made terrible mistakes. The guy's bamboozled, and he has the right to be bamboozled. All right? I don't have a problem with him, really. I appreciate that he can say he made a mistake. That takes cojones, and that's what the players need to hear. Accountability. I messed up, and I'm gonna take accountability. So I admire the guy. I'll tell you what. I sat down today, and I wrote down on a piece of paper what should happen for the rest of the season. What should happen with operations, right? And I said this. I wrote this down. Fire the board. I don't know who has that responsibility. I don't even know how the makeup works. Fire the board. Okay? After you fire the board, fire Mac. Hire yourself a competent GM to look at the situation, work with the head coach to evaluate what they need, and then do what you've what the results show. That's what they need to do.
Well, I don't think you can go and fire the board. I don't know if that's how you go about doing things. Maybe you could replace a few of the board of directors, but I think they each have a term, and I don't know how long the term is, but I'm looking at the names on the board. We have David Asper, Brock knows Bullock, Bobby Cameron, Trevor Kennard. I mean, you think those two guys would have something to say, but then again,
I'll tell you, let's talk about Cameron and Kennard.
They're
not real football players, so what do you expect?
But maybe it's time you get a guy like Doug Brown onto the board. Maybe he can get elected on. He seems to have his pulse on. He only retired this year. He has his pulse on what this generation of football player is like. So he could probably do a good job as on the board of directors, overseeing the overall makeup of the team rather than day-to-day management. Because those guys, let's put it, they're hired to be fired. If you don't win, you're gone. But a board of directors, they're the last ones to take the heat.
Well, they should take the heat from the fans. And I tell you, if they take their money, they should take the heat. It is right now, it's almost a crime. It's almost fraudulent to take people's money to see the games. And I believe that. When your customer base, and we're talking a vast majority of them, want the GM out, you act. That's if you want to fill the seats. If you don't care about filling the seats and you feel you can go back to the government for a handout, then so be it. And I tell you what, I'm not a believer of that type of way of running an operation.
But how do you know they haven't? I think we talked about this already. How do you know that they're not thinking about their next GM at this point? Perhaps
I don't care.
Max is a lame duck GM right now.
It's a symbolic move. And I'll tell you what, if they allowed, okay, I'm assuming Mac had to go to them and say, I'm going to fire the police. I'm assuming you would do that, so the board knows. And by allowing the police to be the fall guy, you should then say that if this backfires, you're next. And I say that some people say you don't fire a coach or, in this case, a GM midseason. Well, they did one. And I say, this is why you fire a GM. And they should have been thinking about this 2-3 weeks ago so that they could prepare for a new GM coming in. All right? Somebody who could evaluate. Right now, Mac, it's not worth having Mac in that position. He's doing nothing. All right? He has no value. All his decisions have been made prior to the season starting, for the most part, except for firing La Police. And he won't make other decisions till the off season. He'll probably be fired before then. This is just ridiculous to keep him on. It's a symbolic move, and sometimes those symbolic moves pay off.
A symbolic move to the players. I agree. You know, I agree because I think what Mac's done is he's created an atmosphere of there's no loyalty. These players know that as soon as they reach a certain age.
Fly ball to center, going, gone.
That's right. And that is what should happen to Mac. But, you know, he has created this atmosphere. It's got to be a bad atmosphere in the Bomber camp because, you know, you become a veteran, you're 28 years old or something, you're out of there. You know, all of a sudden you're no good. You've passed your expiry date. That's what he did to a bunch of the guys. So what's the incentive to be loyal to the Bombers when you know that that's how your GM is going to treat you?
And there's no desperation in the team. You would think that you would have a change in quarterback at this point if the guy's healthy.
Well, this is the latest, is that they're going to start Joey Elliott even though it looks like Buck Pierce could play.
Right, or they're not being upfront about what's keeping him out, but so that's ridiculous because part of the reason the police apparently was fired was not only too many penalties, but the lack of wanting to put the guy in there, right? And going with the kid. Now they have a new head coach, and now the conventional wisdom is that you keep Buck Pierce out. It's a mess. And look, last week you thought there was a decent chance, didn't we, that the Bombers might rebound after being shellacked. Isn't that what teams do? They rebound.
Well, yeah, and further than that, it's harder for a team to beat the team that just beat you to beat you again.
Right.
Back to
And
back
they
wins.
had the victory. Now, I say this is a tougher rebound for the team. The way they lost, having victory in hand, I think it's tougher heading into Calgary.
Oh, I think so for sure. Absolutely. They're deflated again. And not only that, Javon Johnson showed that there's a division in the locker room. I don't know if you read the article, but he was quoted as saying that the field goal call wasn't Tim Burke's. The fact they didn't go for the field goal wasn't Tim Burke's fault. It was the fault of the punter for not making the punt, not executing the play. So you know right then and there that, great, he's taking the bullet for the head coach, but he's now just sunk his teammate who already felt bad probably about missing that kick.
You know what I say? A football mind says that making that punt is, the odds are incredibly against it. I think anybody watching the game is like, no, you're not. You're going to hit a rouge, right? That's what I was thinking as I was hearing it. Rouge is in my head. That's what happened. They should bench that guy for the rest of the season. I'm going to say it. They should bench the guy for the rest of the season on a number of accounts. 1, for being stupid. 2, for being an idiot. 3, for being a moron. And for putting your teammate under the bus.
I agree. Even though he's one of their better players, maybe he has to sit.
He hasn't helped the team.
Why would the coach sit him? He stood up for the coach. He stuck up for him.
If the coach admits that was a mistake, the coach understands football more than this moron. You sit him. It's not only stupid, as I said, it's not only idiotic, it's not only moronic what he said. It is downright disrespectful what he said about a player, and he was wrong about it.
Well, I'm telling you, there's got to be some major division on that team. And
well, how many years has this dude played?
Javon Johnson, he's been a stand-up for them for 4 years now.
So he's a veteran. He's like the only veteran left.
Basically, him and Jonathan Hafney. Who else are better?
Isn't that just wonderful? Isn't that just wonderful? This is the veteran leadership this team has.
He's not known for his maturity, but you know what? I think that's obvious that none of those players have reached the maturity level that is necessary of a pro athlete.
Well, I tell you what. I'll say this. What is that instrument played at funerals? The bugle or something, right?
Yeah.
This has now become the Bugle Bowl. Seriously, play the bugle because that's what we're talking about right now. This is a death of a respectful team or had a respectful past. This is a team that the fans have always been loyal to. This
is a team that's going to miss the playoffs for the third time in 4 years. This is a team that's gone downhill faster than you know what? The problem is that we were alive and got really interested in football during the Cal Murphy era, which was perhaps the best time to be a Bomber fan. That's when the team spent money. They had a good offense, a good defense. They ran the league, and now it's heading on to 20. But it's heading on to 22 years. They've managed to match that level of excitement a few years over the last 22 years, but we're never going to get back there. And there's other teams around the league that haven't had the same success the Bombers had. I mean, Montreal, BC, Edmonton have all had tremendous franchises over the years. They've rarely gone through low points, aside from the fact Montreal didn't have a team for 10 years. But the fact is that we're used to that success, and it's hard to match it again. There's no Cal Murphy waiting in the wings to take over anymore.
Well, as I said, they need a new direction.
Well, but they've needed a new direction a few times. They got to the Grey Cup last year, and they made far too many changes to be able to repeat. And all I say is if Mac would have been honest and said, you know what, this is a rebuilding year, rather than we got the talent that's necessary to have a good season, maybe the fans he would have had a pass for this season, but he blew it, plain and simple. And then he Lapolice is a scapegoat, and we could talk about this through blue in the face, but I think we have to make our predictions for next week.
Yeah, it's that
or
time.
for 2 days for Friday.
Yeah, it's that time. I'm gonna start it off. I'm gonna say Calgary 40, Winnipeg 14.
Wow, 14 for a team that hasn't scored a touchdown an offensive touchdown in 2 games.
That's what's in my head.
How are they getting those touchdowns, by the way?
No idea. Not even a chance. All
right, well, I'm also going to say the Bombers get blown out because this is a team that, like I said, hasn't scored a touchdown in 2 games, and it doesn't look like they could if they tried. But I think the defense will stand tall and only give up 30 points. And the Bombers will get a rouge and a field goal, so 30-4.
You know what? Looking back, we've had 2 weeks this year where we've actually had weeks where we've been positive and happy because of wins. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I got the tissue in my hand. It's pretty soaked. I'm going cry in the corner here.
All right, and I'm gonna play us out. So do your thing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, visit us next time, probably within 24, 48 hours of the next Blue Bombers loss to Calgary, and we'll see you next week, Comish. Bye.